Guys, welcome back to the podcast. Talk with Views, episode 135, the Wednesday news. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 upsets of college football because we got another big name going down. Plus, the MLB announced their Silver Slugger award, so we're going to look at that. Plus, NASCAR crowned its champion this past weekend. But first, let's head into the NHL. So we'll start off this week in the NHL. We got 2 small trades to talk about. One involving Vancouver and Seattle. Daniel Sprong going from Vancouver to Seattle for future considerations. Sprong was in Seattle last season. Sounds like Seattle just wants him back in this case. And the other trade we got was Washington and Pittsburgh. Lars Eller goes back to Washington in exchange for a 2027 third round pick and a 2025 fifth round pick from Chicago. I think Eller's going to be fine in Washington. He was there before. Honestly, Pittsburgh is very bad this year, so maybe Washington's a better option to be at. But honestly, 2 small trades that really aren't too much to get too further into. But just something to note for you guys. LA Kings, Tanner Jeannot was suspended 3 games for an illegal check to the head of Vancouver's Brock Besser. Very dirty hit. Definitely deserved those 3 games. Really not much more to talk about with that one. We got a bunch of waiver claims. Nashville plays Dante Fabro on waivers. He was claimed by Columbus not too long after. Winnipeg claimed Capo Kakinen, goaltender from Colorado. And Buffalo also claimed James Reimer, goaltender from Anaheim. The other one that was not claimed yet, or at least I have not heard anything of, Chicago placed Andreas Anthony on waivers as well. I do not know anything about his waiver claim, though, so that is up for grabs, I think, still. Or he might be going down the minors by the time this comes out. So just keep an eye out on Anthony Ciu. All right, let's get into PWHL jerseys. We got Jersey Watch this week. Yes, something we have not talked about in a while, just because there hasn't been that many jerseys to really talk about. So we'll start off with Montreal. So the Victory, guessing some sort of French toit on it. Pretty much the Montreal Victory for Americans. We'll start off with the home uniforms. They're maroon. They look pretty solid. I actually like the color of the shade of maroon. Black shoulders, black, light blue, and white striping at the bottom of the jersey. That light blue, personally, I don't think it's necessary. I think just get that little light blue out. There's nowhere in the logo or anything else in that whole jersey that has that light blue in there, so I don't really think it's necessary. Yes, there's other teams that use that kind of thing, like San Jose uses a little bit of orange, but there's a little bit of orange in their logo. Vegas uses red. There's not really any red in their logo. Their secondary logo does have red, so I guess they could get away with that. But for those 2 teams, it seems to work in my opinion, but for me, I just don't think it looks great with the PWHL jersey. So Montreal, I just think get rid of that. Overall, though, 6.3 out of 10. For the off-white, it's not actually a white uniform. Also black shoulders and same bottom striping as the maroon one. So because that's the case, get rid of the light blue. I do like that they went off-white on this one, so I gave it 6.5 out of 10. Pretty much the same reasons as the maroon jersey. Now we head to the Ottawa Charge. This uniform is okay. I will say it is not terrible. It does remind me a lot of the Calgary Flames, though, which is the big damper in this whole branding. It does look like a very bad knockoff Calgary Flames. But besides the fact, we'll start off with the red uniform. It got dark gray and light gray on the shoulder, on the striping. Very interesting look, to be honest. So we got a dark gray, a light gray, gold inverse of those colors repeated on the bottom striping. So it's for my audio listeners, it's dark gray at the top, then it goes light gray, then it goes a gold stripe, and then it goes gold, light gray, dark gray. I'm okay with those colors. I think all those colors look really good together. The dark gray shoulders, the light gray collar, it's okay. The white base logo, I think it looks good on there because their primary logo is the red, which we see on that white uniform. So I like that they also, another Calgary Flames reference. They went with the Calgary Flames look, reversing the colors of the logo, depending on what it is. So overall, 6.4 out of 10 for me. It just reminds me too much of Calgary, but I think Calgary does it better. Now we head to the white uniform. I think the white uniform actually looks a lot better than the dark uniform. White based jersey. We got red shoulders with a dark gray collar. Striping at the bottom, we got red, light gray, gold, and then the inverse of that to repeat towards the bottom. The red based logo looks good on that one. I think it actually looks really good. I give it a 7.9 out of 10, excuse me. I think this is better than the red uniform. I don't like the too many grays compared to it, but I think it works pretty well on the white uniform. So good job on that one. But it just, overall, the branding looks way too much like Calgary, so I really just do not like that. I think Calgary does it a lot better than Ottawa does. Then we head to the Minnesota Frost. These are uniforms that I think I really like a lot. We'll start off with the purple uniform. We got white shoulders, a light purple collar. On the bottom striping, we have a white, purple, white, and light purple striping. I think it looks really cool. I think it works. Those colors look really good. The two shades of purple. Usually I don't like two shades of like blue, like St. Louis blue jerseys. I don't really like it because there's two shades of blue in there. But for like teams like I guess Minnesota Frost in this case with the two shades of purple, I think it actually looks really good. I think there's a good enough contrast between the two colors that it looks really good. So overall, I give it an 8.6 out of 10. I think this is a well done jersey. With the white uniform, not much different there. Dark purple shoulders, light purple collar, a light purple, dark purple, light purple, dark purple striping at the bottom. Very wordy, but again, like those two shades of purple. I really like it with the white as well. I think the purple one looks a little bit better in my opinion, so I got an 8.1 out of 10 for the white jersey. Then we head to the Boston Fleet, where we start off with the green uniform. Honestly, not my favorite. We got aqua shoulders with the striping at the bottom being aqua, white, green, and repeated that times 3 at the bottom. Overall, I think the striping is actually kind of cool at the bottom. It gets a little bit bigger and bigger as you get closer to the bottom. But overall, I don't really like that dark green with that bright teal or aqua, whatever color they were calling it. I don't think that works at all. And I really just do not like that logo on the front. That logo really just does not match with the whole branding of the jersey. So I think overall it all doesn't really look that great. So I'm giving it a 5.5 out of 10. I think it could be done a lot better. With the white one, I think it looks better. I think the logo comes out a little bit more on the front. Green shoulders, aqua collar, and the striping at the bottom is aqua, green, white, repeated again. Same thing as the green one, just reverse of the green and white colors. 7.2 out of 10 for me. I mean, I don't think the branding looks all that great. That doesn't really scream Boston to me at all either. I mean, obviously you think the Bruins, you think the black and the gold and the white. You think Celtics, you think the dark green and the white. You think Boston Red Sox with the red, white, and blue. When I think of Boston, though, with the Boston Fleet, I don't think green, aqua, and white are the colors to go. I don't think that's a good brand for a Boston team. So that's a little unfortunate, but I mean, the white one looks better than the green one. So we head to Toronto for the Scepters uniforms. We'll start off with the black ones, or excuse me, the blue ones. They have black shoulders, gold collar, and the striping at the bottom is black, gold, black, and blue. Not too bad. I think the colors are pretty solid, but it just overall is kind of a boring uniform. I think the logo doesn't help either. So I give it a 6.9 out of 10. I mean, it's not bad. It's not great. Just not one to really talk too much about. The white one, actually the same exact score. I think they're both pretty much average uniforms. 6.9 out of 10. We got blue shoulders, gold collar, same striping at the bottom as the blue. So pretty much just an inverse, changing the white and the blue primaries. Again, nothing too special, nothing too bad about it. Just kind of there. So 6.9 out of 10 for both the uniforms there. Then we had the last one, the New York Siren. These are ones I really like as well, just as much as Minnesota. We'll start off with the teal uniforms. Those will be their primary homes. These look great. They give me fisherman vibes a lot. They're dark blue shoulders. You got the orange collar. The striping at the bottom is a very small gray. Then you got orange and dark blue, same as the shoulders, as the striping as the bottom. I think that looks great. It looks super cool. I don't really like the logo at all. I think they could have done something different. I don't like the name as well either. But the uniform itself, I think looks really cool. Really well done. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. I think that uniform looks super cool. With the white one, we got blue shoulders, orange collar, and the stripe at the bottom is orange, blue, teal. So very similar to the teal uniform, a little bit different color orientation there. But again, I think the colors look really good all together. So I give it an 8.2 out of 10. I think this and Minnesota are by far my favorite ones. I think overall they look great. Not bad uniforms. I think the logos, some of them work, some of them don't. We didn't talk about the logos when they first came out because I think we were off on that week when we came to episode releases. But I think there are some teams that did really well, hit that one out of the park. There are some teams that need to go back to the drawing board. So overall, not that bad for the PWHL jersey releases. All right, let's head to college football. So we're going to go straight into notable results because there's no big news to talk about. Besides, we got a couple big upsets. So we'll start off with number 4, Miami dropping their first game of the year to Georgia Tech, 28-23. Texas hosted Florida, 49-17 victory for them. They also had Manning playing the end of that game just because of how big of a blowout it was for the Longhorns. Ole Miss hosted number 3, Georgia. Ole Miss winning this one 28-10. The university was also fined $350,000 for storming the field. $100,000 was because of coming on early, and the $250,000 was because of the second offense. Money well spent by the Ole Miss Rebels there. A big win against Georgia, 28-10. Indiana stays undefeated. They faced Michigan last week. They beat them 20-15. Kansas ended up smoking, or I wouldn't say smoking, just really messing up the playoff chances for Iowa State in this one as they were ranked 17th. Kansas winning this one 45-36. Army keeps the undefeated season alive and the playoff hopes alive. 25 ranked Army wins this one 14-3 over North Texas. Number 11 Alabama went into Death Valley, the home of number 15 LSU, and just wiped the floor with them. A 42-13 win for the Crimson Tide. And then we had Missouri hosting Oklahoma. Big come from behind win for the Tigers there. They won that one 30-23. Pitt ended up losing their second straight game, this one to Virginia, 24-19 at home, unfortunately. Boise State stays as the top potential top group of 5 team, winning this one against Nevada 28-21. And lastly, we end the night BYU versus Utah, the Holy War. Number 9 BYU ended up squeaking out a win 22-21 against the Utes. Very controversial ending to that game with a couple of penalties. Utah pretty much should have had a win in my book. BYU ended up getting a couple flags to go their way. Drove down the field, scored the touchdown to end up taking the lead and ended up being the game winner for the Cougars. So tough loss for the Utes there, but yet again, the BYU Cougars find a way to get another victory, keep the undefeated season alive, and pretty much look like the best team right now in the Big 12. So we'll see if they'll keep that rolling into next week. All right, let's head to the college football top 25. We got the CFP rankings this week. Last week, obviously, was the first week of CFP rankings. I forgot about that. We had the AP polls on this channel. But let's head into the college football playoff rankings. We're starting off from 25 to 21. So we'll do the first 25 all the way up to 14 or 14, excuse me. And then we will put up a new graphic. So if you guys are on the audio, go check out the YouTube channel where it breaks down everybody when it comes to the rankings, plus where they will be into the bracket. It's going to get confusing. I'm going to try my best to explain it to you audio listeners, but definitely the visuals, if you're a visual learner, it's going to help a lot. So we'll start off with the new 25. Tulane goes from unranked to 25. Army gets a +1 to 24. Missouri gets a +1 to 23. LSU, with their loss, drops 7 to 22. And North Carolina goes from unranked to 21. Then we have Clemson +3 to 20. Louisville gets a +3 to 19. Washington State gets a +3 to 18. Colorado gets a +3 to 17. And Kansas State gets a +3 to 16. Then we had at 15, Texas A&M. They dropped 1 from last week. SMU drops 1 to 14. And then now we get the new graphic here where we had the new number 13 ranked Boise State. They dropped 1 from last week, but because of that, they are going to be the top group of 5 champion in the college football committee's eyes. So they actually are in that first round there, even though Georgia did drop 9 spots to number 12, so they would be considered the first team out, along with SMU being the second team out of the playoffs. And then Ole Miss gets a plus 5 to 11, meaning that they go in to seed number 11 as well. Alabama gets a plus 1 to 10. They are also seeded at 10. Miami drops 5 to 9. They will stay put as the best ACC team, so they are actually seated at number 4, even though their rankings on the side profile is at 9. They are the best ACC team in this ranking, so they are considered the ACC champs, meaning they get a bye to the second round, and they are put at the number 4 spot. Then we had Notre Dame at the 8 spot. They jumped up 2 from last week, and they will be placed in the 9 seed. Then we had Tennessee stayed put at 7. They will be ranked in the 8 seed in the first round, facing Notre Dame if this would end this weekend. BYU gets a plus 3 to number 6, and they are the best Big 12 team in these rankings, meaning that they are getting a bye to the second round. They are ranked 3rd in the seeding. Then we had Indiana. They get a plus 3 to 5. Really big jump there. But because of the seeding, they get jumped to 7. And they would have to face Alabama if the playoffs would to start today. Then we got Penn State plus 2 to number 4. They would be seeded number 6. And they'd have to face Ole Miss. We got Texas at a plus 2 from last week up to number 3. They are the best SEC team remaining, so they would get to the 2nd seed and the first round bye for the playoffs. Ohio State, 2nd in the college football playoffs again, but because Oregon is number 1, staying put from last week, Oregon will get the bye and we be ranked 1st in the college football playoff seeding, but Ohio State would be ranked 5th despite getting a number 2 ranking in the CFP top 12. Yes, very confusing. It's hard to explain to you guys without the visuals. But as of right now, if the playoffs were to end, the first round would be Boise State versus Ohio State, Notre Dame versus Tennessee, Ole Miss versus Penn State, Alabama versus Indiana. The byes, because of the top 4 conference champions, which doesn't have to be the Power 4 conferences. It could be a Boise State team if they think Boise State is better than any of these other teams, or even another conference. If they think Army is that good of a team, and maybe they go out and they beat Notre Dame upcoming weeks, and they go undefeated and win their championship. Maybe they bump out Boise State, but maybe they even get into a first round bye. That is a possibility. But for this case, as of right now, the first round byes would be Miami in the 4 seed, Oregon in the 1 seed, BYU in the 3 seed, and Texas in the 2 seed. Those would be the quote-unquote best conference champs of college football. Overall, I mean, the first rankings of any college football rankings have never really been the same. Yes, there's been a couple of teams that do squeak in all throughout, but overall, they're really never the same. So you can't really be too mad at this. Looking at just the top 12, honestly, I'm kind of surprised SMU is not higher, but when they have dropped Georgia from 9 spots, I mean, that's a big drop off. SMU didn't play last week and they get a drop off of 1. Boise State drops off 1 to 13. I mean, Ole Miss definitely deserves to be ranked higher than Georgia, but is Georgia better than what Boise State's been doing to their opponents and SMU to their opponents? I don't know. Miami dropping down to 9 seems to make sense. I mean, overall, everything I'm okay with seems to make sense. BYU getting a plus 3, though, is the only one I do not agree with. They have squeaked out a couple games the last couple weeks. They should not have won that game against Utah, and yet they get a plus 3, jumping in front of Tennessee, Notre Dame, and even Miami. I mean, Miami lost, so they might have been able to get a boost there. But BYU getting a +3 just seems odd to me. I don't think that one works in my eyes, but yet again, take it with a grain of salt. The committee's always going to be changing these rankings from here on out because they're going to be upset. So the only two teams to drop out of the CFP rankings, though, was Iowa State at 17 and Pitt at 18. So we'll move on to games to watch this weekend. We got number 20, Clemson versus Pitt. Can Pitt pull off an upset? Is Clemson going to try and make a run for that ACC title game? Really good things on the line there. Number 23, Missouri versus number 21, South Carolina. Honestly, playoff implications here. I mean, maybe better bowl games, but honestly, it's just a top 25 matchup. Could be really good football there. Arizona State versus number 16, Kansas State. Yes, obviously, I'm a homer for Arizona State. You can call me it all you want, but this is actually a really good game. Two 7-2 teams here, both in the contention for Big 12 championship games, depending on what other teams do. ASU has a really clear, I wouldn't say too clear of a path there, but overall has a better path than Kansas State. So this is a big game for Arizona State, and they're on the road here. A win at Kansas State definitely would get them into the rankings, so ASU is going to be trying really hard for that game, so should be a good matchup there. Number 7, Tennessee versus number 12, Georgia. That's at 4:30 on ABC. That should be the game of the weekend. Tennessee has a lot on the line here. Georgia trying to keep in the playoff hopes. If they lose here, I think they're done. So Tennessee really would like to knock off Georgia here. And lastly, Kansas versus number 6 BYU, 7:15 on ESPN. I think BYU playing Kansas is not a cakewalk. Kansas coming off a big win against Iowa State. Can Kansas win on the road against BYU? It's going to be hard, but I would not say it's not a possibility. So should be a good matchup there. Now let's head to underdog picks. Last week we had Georgia Tech outright beating number 4 Miami, and this was a huge win for the Jackets, a 28-23 win. They were a +11 underdog there. So what does that mean for my overall points? We get a +16, bringing our season total up to 72 points on the season. So we're doing really well. A big outright win by the Jackets to help me out on my underdog picks. This upcoming weekend, who do we got? I got Arizona State +9 versus Kansas State. I mean, I already stated what's going on with ASU and implications for them. I think 4 o'clock on ESPN, that might be one of the better games at that time. Yeah, Tennessee and Georgia will be going around that time as well. But these two teams are really looking to try and just knock off each other. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. ASU has a great chance to make it the conference title game. And a +9, I think, is a big disrespect as well. I think ASU has a great chance to make this a one-score game. And if Cam Scatterboo is going to play, which it sounds like he will, I think ASU has an outstanding chance to outright win this game. So I would hammer the money line for ASU in this game, let alone, at the very least, just cover. All right, ASU update of the weekend. This past weekend, they beat UCF 31-35, a big win for the Devils. Should not have won that game, though. That was a very nerve-wracking game because R.J. Harvey, 25 carries, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground for the Knights. He looked great. I personally did not think ASU's defense was going to stop him at all, but it did come down to defense winning this game for the Devils. A special teams block punt led to a scoop and score and touchdown for the Devils. That was their first touchdown of the game, so that was a good momentum shift there. Defense also had to step up big after a touchdown later in the half. Kickoff team for UCF botched it, forced them to pretty much start out their drive on their 1 yard line. ASU ended up on the first play getting a pick 6 right before halftime ended, getting into the locker room with a lead. So big stops there. And then a huge 4th and 2 stop on UCF's last drive of the game, which ultimately sealed the deal for the Devils. So a big defensive and special teams game, which looked a little shaky when it came to the defense, but it did come up big with a couple big stops there. Offensive side of the ball, they had no Cam Scatterboo due to a shoulder injury, so it definitely was interesting to watch this team without Cam. You could tell they were struggling, but Kyson Brown, 18 carries, 73 yards, no touchdowns, but he honestly did not look that bad. Offensive line, though, did not look very impressive when it came to the running defense. But Jordan Tyson, he had a great game, 7 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. So ASU really does seem to be rolling right now. They're 7-2. They're looking like they're going to get a great bowl game, if not even better. They might even get into that title game because Big 12 standings right now are very clustered. BYU is the number 1 spot. They're 9-0, 6-0 in conference. Colorado's the number 2 spot, 7-2, 5-1 in conference. Kansas State, 7-2, 4-2 in conference. Iowa State, same record. ASU, same record. So 5 teams at the top right now, all with the same record. There are more teams technically in the hunt, but definitely a harder road for those teams to get in. BYU, if they lose big time chances for the Kansas State and ASU game for them to jump up into those. If ASU wins out, that means they beat Kansas State and BYU. That means they could get in. Plus, they beat Arizona, which is also a conference champ or conference opponent. And if Iowa State doesn't make it in, if they lose again, whatever. I think ASU just needs to focus on winning out. Colorado also controls their own destiny, being 5-1 in conference play right now. Only their other loss being out of conference definitely helps for the Buffaloes. So BYU and Colorado control their own destiny. ASU needs to focus on winning out because that will really mess up BYU and Kansas State's chances. So really good chances for ASU to get in, but main focus, Kansas State this weekend. Winning in Manhattan is the go-to. You got to get that one done. They lose this week, really hard road to get to that championship game. All right, let's head to the MLB. We got Silver Slugger awards to talk about first. The American League will start it off infield, then go to the outfield. Then we got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Jose Altuve, Bobby Witt Jr., and Jose Ramirez as the infield. Josh Smith, Salvador Perez, and Brent Rooker are also included. And then in the outfield, we got Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Anthony Santander. For the NL, the infield, we got Bryce Harper, Ketel Marte, Francisco Lindor, Manny Machado, Mookie Betts, William Contreras, and Shohei Ohtani. In the outfield, we got Jackson Merrill, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jerickson Profar. Personally, not very surprised about really any of these. I did see something about Brent Rooker winning it. This is the first time we've seen an A's player win this award since 2002. So it's pretty awesome to see an Oakland Athletic winning an award for the very last time in the very last season. So that's very cool. But congrats to both to both leagues, everybody, all 20 athletes there. Definitely some of the best hitters in the league by far. We had some roster news. So San Diego extended Mike Shield to 2 years to continue to be their manager. The Angels made some free agent news. Kyle Hendricks signed to a 1-year, $2.5 million, and Travis d'Arnaud signed a 2-year, $12 million. Don't really like the Kyle Hendricks pickup. He's a SoCal native. So is Travis d'Arnaud, actually. But Kyle Hendricks, he throws like low 90s. He's really not going to do much. But maybe he will impress and get some good quality starts in for the Angels. But I really like the Travis d'Arnaud pickup. $12 million, not too bad. Should be the starting catcher when Stassi is not there for sure. d'Arnaud will probably get a lot of playing time as well when it comes to maybe DHing. So I really like him. Stassi hopefully stays healthy and we won't have to use d'Arnaud. But if that is the case, if Stassi does go out, I'm okay having Travis d'Arnaud as the backup there. Unfortunately, though, Angels did also announce that shortstop Zach Neto may miss the whole season due to undergoing a shoulder surgery. So that is big news, and that could be a big loss for the Angel lineup next season. St. Louis announced that Wilson Contreras will be moving from catcher to first base next season. It sounds like they're not very happy with his defensive play in the backfield. So going to first base is usually a pretty common catcher to first base position swap. So we'll see what Contreras does with the Cardinals next year there. Dodgers also announced that Mookie Betts will be moving back to the infield for next season. That, not very surprising. They seem to like him out there, but they wanted him to be comfortable after his injury, sticking him back in the outfield. But this also frees up space for potentially Juan Soto maybe coming back, or not coming back, but coming into this lineup for the Dodgers, which is one of 7 teams that have actually contacted Juan Soto that we are known of. Both New York teams, the Yankees and the Mets, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Giants, and the Rays have all contacted Juan Soto. I would not be surprised if there was more teams, but those are the only teams that we have confirmed. So it should be interesting. I don't know if the Dodgers will get him. If they want him, they're going to go after him. Personally, I think they should just re-sign Teoscar and call it good because that's a lot of money that they're dropping. Teoscar did a great job last season. Juan Soto obviously did better than Teoscar, but I think Juan Soto in New York seems to make sense. It just seems to fit well. So I think he'll go back to New York, actually. I think he'll just get a new contract there because I think the Yankees really liked Juan Soto. And lastly, I talked about Tampa Bay. They're not going to have a field for this upcoming season. Their field, unfortunately, was trashed in the hurricane this last month, I believe it was. They said it should be ready in 2026, but it's going to cost $55.7 million to repair the stadium, meaning that this field will not be ready by opening day this upcoming season. So I don't know where Tampa Bay is going to play. I would maybe think there's going to be some facilities, either spring training facilities or something like that, or maybe there's another field that I'm not aware of, but I would say most likely it's probably spring training field. Tampa Bay also mentioned going to Montreal a couple years back to play like a couple of their home games in Montreal. They haven't mentioned that at all, but that might be a possibility. Maybe going to Montreal for a season or doing something like that. Maybe even just put Tampa Bay in Oakland. Call them the freaking Oakland Rays for a season. It sounds like the Oakland A's, the Oakland Rays. I think a lot of fans would actually go out to that. Obviously, I don't think that's a possibility at all, but I think that's just really cool. That'd be something different for sure. All right, let's head to college hockey. But before we get into notable results, we got some sad news coming out of AIC, the American International College. They announced earlier this week that they are dropping their hockey program to Division II after this season. The reasons behind it is mainly because of money, but they also said the change in the landscape of the NCAA. It sounds like AIC just doesn't have the money to compete with some of these other programs that put a lot of money towards hockey, especially with all these NIL deals and things like that. It doesn't sound like AIC could hang when it comes to those being competitive and things like that. So it's sad to hear that they're going down to Division II. The program has been up at Division I since 1998 and has made 3 tournament runs since 2019, including a big upset win in the semifinals against St. Cloud State. So AIC is going to be lost, and I feel like there's a lot of programs out there that are struggling like this. But it's even more unfortunate that AIC has to drop to Division II because of this case. I mean, I think this is just the first case of potentially many schools that are smaller, like AIC, that are going to have to drop because they just do not have the alumni situation there, the NIL money to give out to some of these athletes. So it's going to be sad to watch their last couple of games here on the season, but hopefully AIC impresses a couple of fans out there and just puts their best foot forward. But very sad news for AIC. All right, let's head to notable results, which we actually have a lot coming from Friday, Saturday, and one game on Sunday. So let's get straight into it. Friday, we had Notre Dame dropping in overtime against number 7 Michigan 2-1. UMass Lowell, number 16 in the country, beat number 9 Boston 5-3. Boston College beat number 5 Maine 3-2 at home. So BC looking really good to start out the year. Vermont ended up tying number 12 UMass 3-3. Quinnipiac, the 15th in the country, lost to Dartmouth 4-2. Alaska Anchorage tied number 20 Union 3-3. Number 6 Cornell tied Yale 2-2. Northeastern tied number 11 Providence 2-2. Number 3 Michigan State beat number 12 Ohio State 4-2. Number 3 Minnesota beat Wisconsin, who was unranked, 3-2. Miami of Ohio ended up just losing in overtime to number 14 St. Cloud State 3-2. We had a Saturday where Alaska Anchorage upset number 20 Union again, sweeping the weekend 6-4. Number 3 Michigan State swept number 12 Ohio State 4-1. Number 9 Boston University ended up being number 16 UMass Lowell 5-2. UMass, number 17 in the country, ended up losing to Vermont 4-0. St. Cloud State, 14th in the country, beat Miami of Ohio 3-1. Quinnipiac getting swept by Harvard this weekend, losing this one 3-0. Number 11, Providence beat Northeastern in overtime, 6-5. Number 3, Minnesota beat Wisconsin 3-2 in overtime. Number 7, Michigan beat Notre Dame 4-2. And lastly, we had a tie. Minnesota State, 18th in the country, tied 1-1 to St. Thomas. And lastly, on Sunday, we had one game played. Boston College, second in the country, shutout number 5, Maine, 3-0. All right, let's head to top 20. Denver stays put at 1. Boston College stays put at 2. At 3, we had a shared spot again, Minnesota State and Minnesota. Michigan State and Minnesota, Number 4, obviously nobody there. Number 5, Cornell jumps up 1. Michigan gets a +1 to 6. Maine drops 2 to 7. Colorado College stays put at 8. Providence gets a +2 to 9. North Dakota stays put at 10. St. Cloud and Western Michigan share number 11. Nobody at 12. Boston University drops 4 to 13. Ohio State drops 2 to 14. UMass Lowell gets a +1 to 15. Minnesota State gets a +2 to 16. Dartmouth gets goes from unranked to 17. Penn State gets a +1 to 18. Harvard goes from unranked to 19. And UMass drops 3 to 20. The only teams that drop out this week, Quinnipiac from 15 and Union from 20. Receiving votes, we had Quinnipiac, Notre Dame, Michigan Tech, Clarkson, and Union. Some of the matchups to watch this weekend, we got number 13, Boston University visiting number 7, Maine. Number 8, Colorado College versus number 11, Western Michigan. Number 5, Cornell versus number 17, Dartmouth. And number 1, Denver versus number 10, North Dakota. ASU update from the weekend. Tough 2 losses, one of them being in overtime. On Friday, they lost that one in overtime, 4-3. Noah Beck, Dylan Jaxson, and Ryan Alexander with the goals. Power play did go 1 for 3 on that one. Gibson Homer stopping 17 of 21. On Saturday, a little bit less offense, 3-1 loss in this one. David Himovich getting the only goal for the Devils. Power play did go 0 for 3. PK went 3 for 4. Luke Pavicic did get the start for this one, stopping 18 of 20 for 900 save percentage. One goal was an empty net for the Tigers, so Colorado College sweeping the weekend in that one for the first games for ASU in the NCHC division. But this upcoming weekend, they have the first home games of the NCHC run, I guess. I don't even know what to say for that. Against Omaha this weekend. ASU, I think they're going to split the weekend. I'd say Friday they're going to win, Saturday they're going to lose. I think they'll split against Omaha. ASU actually is really struggling. I mean, of what I've seen, I don't think the offense is very good compared to last year, which is tough to watch because obviously you want your favorite team to score a lot of goals. But I think goaltending-wise, they look very good. I think that's what's going to keep them in games. So hopefully ASU goes out and sweeps the weekend. But my realization is I think they're going to sweep the weekend 1-1. All right, let's head to the cleanup now, where we had NASCAR crowning their champion at Phoenix Speedway this past weekend, which is local for us. Joey Logano won his 3rd championship, his first since 2022. Joey looked great all race, edging out Ryan Blaney in the end. So congrats to you, Joey Logano. But also in that race, Martin Truex Jr. raced for his final time as a full-time racer. He had 693 starts, 34 Cup Series wins. He won the Xfinity Championship twice in back-to-back years, 2004 and 2005, and was a NASCAR champion in 2017. So congrats to you, Martin Truex Jr., one of the legends in my eyes when it comes to guys that I grew up watching. So it definitely is tough to see all these old guys, quote-unquote old guys, retiring, but congrats on the awesome career. You very well deserve it. Hopefully we see you soon in a car, but for full-time racing, Truex is done. We had quickly to MLS. Inter Miami, best team ever in MLS history, supposedly, were eliminated first round in the playoffs by Atlanta United. A big upset win there on the road as well. Inter Miami's Jordi Alba was publicly kind of criticizing the format of MLS playoffs, saying that if you're the best team, you should get a better, road to the playoffs. He was saying something where the best team of the West plays the best team in the East, and that is your MLS Cup champ. I personally don't agree with that. I mean, this is American sports. I mean, Jordy just got to get used to it. If you want to play with in the MLS, you just got to get used to the new playoff format. And if you can't beat a team like Atlanta, maybe you don't deserve to be a champion. So tough loss. A lot of fans are not going to watch the MLS playoffs now. I will probably stay tuned because my boys, the LA Galaxy, are still involved in that. So hopefully LA has a much easier road to the cup now that Miami is gone. Staying in soccer real quick, Neymar did suffer a hamstring tear, injured once again. He will be out 4 to 6 weeks. We had an NFL. Carolina extend Chuba Hubbard to 4 years, $33.2 million, and San Francisco extend Demondre Lenore to 5 years, $92 million. And lastly, Dallas is shutting down Dak Prescott for the rest of the season. He's had surgery to repair a partially torn hamstring. So it's a tough season for Dallas. It looks like it's going to get even tougher. So hopefully Dak is okay and ready to go next season. Games to watch this weekend. We got NHL, Jets, and Panthers Saturday at 4 p.m. NFL, I got Baltimore versus Pittsburgh Sunday at 10 a.m. on CBS. College football, I got number 7, Tennessee versus number 12, Georgia, Saturday at 4:30 p.m. on ABC. And lastly, college hockey, number 8, Colorado College versus number 11, Western Michigan. All right, guys, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. 135 episodes in the books. If you guys are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go check out the YouTube channel because we're making graphics. We're doing a lot of fun content out on there. And sometimes it's only visible on YouTube, depending on what the content is. So if you guys go check that out, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell icon so you guys are notified when these episodes do drop. If you guys are on YouTube, go check out the Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just give us a rating. Help us spread out the podcast to bigger and better things. But I appreciate you guys sticking around to this for this far. But I appreciate you guys listening. Have an awesome weekend watching college football, college hockey, NHL, NFL, NBA, European soccer, everything. Watch it all. This is going to be a packed weekend as well. I appreciate you guys listening to this one. Have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you guys later.